Pinterest had built like a $250 million new office in San Francisco. And I guess they had to freaking end it, and it cost them $90 million. I think it had like a whole bunch of custom stuff built just for them. And it's sounding like remote is going to be a semi-permanent thing for them. But I've just never heard of such a freaking expensive ass lease. 90 million just to end it.
I think they're elated to get out from the 90, to take the 90 million buyout, because the 90 million is a buyout. Like, they probably signed a 20-year lease. Yeah, they put a bunch of money into it, but that's a sunken cost. Money's gone. It's a smart deal for them to get out from under what may be a 20-year lease for them for 90 million. But the question is, why are they taking the buyout? Why are they moving now?
I mean, I wonder if this is part of a bigger trend where a lot of these tech companies are going to do permanent remote. And I know some of them are not on board and they're doing it for now. Like Netflix has said that they do plan on having everybody back in once there's a vaccine. So not everyone is for it, but it seems like this is where it's moving. Pinterest is just one of those companies.
Sure. I think COVID is this is going to go deep down a rabbit hole. COVID is a blessing in disguise for them.
Yeah, I mean, why would a company want to have a property anyway? You got to deal with insurance, fucking rent, HR issues, all of that kind of stuff. If you can get away from it, then
some of them are evangelical about this like office culture. Like they just hold on to it from decades and decades ago, and it's just crazy.
Yeah, we had a kind of a bit of life support with WeWork and the kind of beers in the office place thing. But overall, I mean, if you don't need to be in an office place, then all that matters is output. All I care about is your output. I understand that face-to-face meetings are better than, meetings on the phone in some cases, but I think you're right, Raymond. And this is where a lot of businesses are going, especially in tech. Like, why would you want to have an expensive bit of real estate?
Yeah, it's not going to be everybody, but for certain businesses, it makes sense. And it's not even for every role. Like, I agree that for things like sales and marketing or whatever, like situations where you want to be with clients face to face, there is a benefit to it. It's just forcing everyone to do it the same way from an office just doesn't really work anymore or make sense anymore.
I'm going to take you in a different direction for a minute, because I think there's what's being said on the surface and there's the underlying of what's not being said. These guys are running from California like the state is on fire for a myriad of reasons. The taxes, this whole attack on the gig economy, like this is, we talk about that at the end of the day, the progressives eat their own at the end.
Sure, but this is happening in New York too.
New York's the same way. It's the same system. It's not happening in Texas. It's not happening in Nashville.
So you think companies would be more willing to work from an office from Texas and Nashville?
I think they will be, for sure. Tesla's not sending everybody home, and I know they're not.
Why is it happening here?
Tech company.
And why Toronto?
Toronto's largely the same. But I think a lot of it is, especially in California, look at the attack on tech workers over the last. I also think to follow the money. Like, if they can hire a programmer or a developer who lives in Omaha, Nebraska, they don't have to pay him $130,000 a year because he has to live in downtown San Francisco.
Yeah, they've already said that they're going to reduce salaries by 20%. Of
course they are.
For people that move out of town. Okay, but I don't get how it's a political issue here, though. If Shopify is going all remote, what does that have to do with politics in California? It seems like two separate things.
It's not just political. It's obviously monetary. But in California, they've made it even more expensive to do business. New York and California have made it more expensive to do business. I'm not saying that they're not going to try to cut costs across the board. I think they look at it as a way to cut costs across the spectrum. But California has put a gun to their head and made it even quicker and even quicker access. I mean, Uber and Lyft are talking about not doing business in California.
Crazy.
It's crazy. And one of the biggest problems is no one can criticize it. So this is where you get into the politics of it. They can't criticize it because they've supported it all along. They can't come out now and say, oh, we don't really support these crazy progressive politics, they don't do that. They just leave, which is, it's almost like breaking up with your girlfriend without giving her a reason why you're leaving. Like, they've supported this all along, and they have this mindset that they can't be critical of these policies, so we'll just leave.
That makes sense.
Like, Tim Cook and Zuckerberg can't come out and say, hey, you know what? These policies are really going to hurt us, because they're the progenitors of these policies. They're the people that have supported these policies and backed these policies and voted and supported these politicians that are making these decisions in New York and California for the last, 10 or 15 or 20 years. They're so concerned with their image. COVID gives them an excuse to keep their image intact and cut their costs significantly. Because initially it's going to go to remote workers. Then it's going to go to hiring people in areas where they can pay them less. And eventually, if you were to ask my opinion, eventually it's going to be complete foreign workers. Why would you hire a developer in the U.S. at all? Like, if you're faced, why would you not hire a developer in Romania? And again, not to get into the politics again, but do you want employees or do you want activists?
I think there's still a cultural component even to remote work. Cultural meaning like you guys all at least live in the same place and have somewhat of a similar identity. I don't know if this is going to go to Romania just instantaneously just because it's like a line item on a spreadsheet. I think there's still a culture component that's just remotely. We've tried. We've hired remote devs in India at my company, and it's never worked out. It's not that they're not skilled. It's just the culture barrier and the time zone barrier has always fucked us up every single time. So I don't know what has to change for that to work differently.
Maybe it doesn't change, but we're also only 6 months into it, really, right?
Yeah, I think it'll expand the talent pool all over the US. I don't know if people are just going to go to like Belarus for cheaper devs.
But it's one step away from that, right?
One of the comments from the Pinterest CEO was that this move would allow them to hire people in different geographic locations, which would give them a more diverse workforce, was his quote, which is French for, we can hire a bunch of people in foreign countries and pay them a fraction of what we're going to pay them here, and they're not going to want to take Tuesdays off to protest.